whether DHS is prioritizing risk and vulnerability assessments for the states. I didn't get a clear commitment that you are. And I'd also like to know, have you received the request that we made for a timetable for those assessments, because we've not received a response to that request?
Yes, ma'am. We are prioritizing. We have 19 that are state and localities that are either been completed or in process. We continue to offer the systems, but we have made the commitment and prioritized resources that any state or locality that requests that, we will have it completed before the midterm election.
Do you have a date for completion?
Of the 19, I can get back to you, but those are the only ones who have requested so far.
Can you commit to completing all these assessments by June 1st, which would be 5 months before the election?
Depending on who requests, but I'm happy to work with you on timelines as soon as we get a request.
And of the number you mentioned, you said have been completed or in the process?
Yes, that's correct.
How many have been completed?
To my knowledge, 15. If that's not correct, I'll ask Jeanette Manfred to correct me when she speaks.
Okay, because you earlier said in the process of or have been completed.
That's right. So I believe 15 have been completed, but again, she'll verify if I have that number wrong.
Okay, well, we heard from her yesterday, and she said that 14 are in the process.
Okay.
So
that's 19
Can you
total.
follow up with how many have actually been completed?
Sure. And it's also a little confusing because, of course, there's states and localities. So 19 is states and localities.
Okay, my question concerns states. Thank
Perfect.
you. And is there a protocol for following up to ensure that the reforms that you recommend have actually been completed?
We do continue to work with them through hygiene, scanning, and others.
Is there a protocol to do that?
So that is the protocol that we offer. But again, it's all voluntary, so it's not a mandatory check.
Okay. In the intelligence community, there's a concept called duty to warn. And Secretary Johnson, I'd like to ask you, and essentially the concept is that if a federal agency learns that a person is at a risk of imminent harm or an entity is at risk, that that they should be informed, and obviously without giving up critical information that we have in terms of sources and methods. Do you believe in the future that the department should have a duty to warn states if the Department of Homeland Security is informed that there are imminent cybersecurity threats to their election systems?
Yes, absolutely.
Secretary Nielsen, do you agree with that?
Yes.
And will you commit then to this committee that you will, in fact, warn those states when you become aware of imminent threat to their cybersecurity systems for elections?
With the interagency, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when you learn of these threats, will you also commit to informing immediately congressional committees and particularly the Intelligence Committee?
As you know, we will work with you on that. As you know, the entire process is voluntary. What we find is when we notify others of who the victims are, unfortunately it has a chill and we no longer get the information from those who have been attacked. So we'll continue to work with you on how to do that.
So my question is, will you commit to specifically informing the Senate Intelligence Committee when you become aware of those threats?
We'll continue to work with you on the best protocols for that, yes.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is it's very difficult if a state does not want to be identified because it's a voluntary relationship. I don't want to do anything that would limit our ability to understand who is being attacked. So we'd have to work with the victim, just like we do in any other sector, and work with you to make sure that we do it in the right way.
Would you commit to informing your oversight committee, which is the Homeland Security Committee of the United States Senate?
I understand your question, and again, we'll have to work with the victims. It's a voluntary system.
You sit on the Principals Committee of the National Security Council, is that correct?
I'm a member, yes.
Okay, and that committee is comprised of cabinet officials and is responsible for advising the president and coordinating policy on America's most serious national security challenges. Has the Principals Committee held a meeting focused on the security of the 2018 election?
I myself hosted it, yes.
And when did that meeting take place?
A few weeks ago.
And what decisions were made regarding election security?
That state and locals remain in charge, that DHS needs to continue to expand our toolkit of what we can provide and support, that we need to work on tear lines, we need to work on victim notification, we need to work on clearances, and we need to work on communications to make sure that the public is aware of the threat.
And did you indicate timelines and due dates for what should happen before the 2018 election?
Well, clearly everything should be done before that, but yes, for each one of those, we have an agreement on a path forward with the timeline.
Will you provide that to this committee?
Happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Chair would recognize himself and then the